something shifted inside McLaren and almost no one caught it in real time. One moment, Oscar Piastri looked certain of the ground beneath his feet. The next, Lando Norris did something that stopped him cold. No warning, no hints, just a move that silenced a room full of engineers and sent ripples through every headset on the pit wall. People are whispering about a conversation that ran long, a whiteboard wiped clean, a quiet nod that changed the tone of the season. Cameras missed it, data only hints at it. All anyone knows is that Norris walked out different and Piastri felt it before anyone said a word. The balance in that garage did not just tilt, it felt like it clicked into a new position. What did Norris do that left Piastri in total shock? Through much of the opening half of the 2025 Formula One season, McLaren's garage has been less a united front and more a simmering battleground wrapped in courtesy. On one side stands Oscar Piastri, the ice-cool Australian who approaches each race weekend like a complex puzzle, breaking it down piece by piece with calm precision. On the other is Lando Norris, the unpredictable British talent whose highs can be dazzling and whose lows arrive with equal intensity, sometimes turning a race into a masterclass, other times into a cautionary tale. Early on, it seemed as though Norris's championship aspirations might dissolve before they could properly take shape. Piastri's clinical, mistake-free performances cast a harsh light on Norris's occasional slip-ups, the kind of errors that feel minor in the moment but grow heavy over time, stacking up like forgotten luggage on an airport carousel. Against Piastri's steady mental armour, there were whispers that Norris's more emotionally charged approach might not withstand the grind of a season-long fight. But when the travelling circus reached Hungary, the balance began to tilt. Norris had already stamped his authority with dominant wins in Austria and a rapturous home triumph at Silverstone. Piastri hit back with a composed victory in Belgium, only for Norris to respond immediately in Budapest. That Hungarian win came despite a poor start that saw him fall from 3rd to 5th, the kind of early setback that might once have undone him, but this time only fueled his fight back. As the checkered flag waved over the Hungaroring, Norris had trimmed the gap to just 9 points heading into the summer break, his campaign very much alive. Former Formula One driver turned pundit Johnny Herbert didn't just notice Lando Norris's Hungarian heroics, he felt compelled to acknowledge them in the most personal way possible. So impressed was he with the Britain's composure and racecraft that he went straight to the source, firing off a message to Norris's father, Adam. "That's amazing!" It was part praise, part reassurance, as if to say, your son's story isn't about to become another Netflix cautionary tale. Speaking to Grosvenor Casino afterwards, Herbert explained exactly why this performance stood out. The turning point was a gutsy one-stop strategy, with Norris nursing the hard tyres through a daunting 40-lap stint after his sole pit stop. What impressed Herbert most was not just the speed, but the restraint. "I was a little worried when he put on the hard tyres and set the fastest laps," he admitted. "I was sitting by the TV saying, don't break them, don't overheat them." For Norris and those in his corner, the win carried extra weight. Herbert acknowledged that the young Briton had been under fire for perceived inconsistency and doubts over his ability to deliver under pressure. "This race," he said, silenced those critics in the most emphatic fashion. "He turned that around," Herbert concluded, and in doing so, Norris may have just shifted the championship narrative in his favour. Johnny Herbert's sharpest takeaway from Budapest was simple. The old Lando Norris, the one whose emotions sometimes spilled into his driving, seems to have vanished. The hyper-nervous Norris from the early days of his career is completely gone, Herbert said with conviction. Even the bubbly Lando we saw earlier this season has gone. In his place, Herbert sees a more composed, professional figure, a driver who in the post-race cool-down room radiated focus rather than adrenaline. There's a completely different mentality in the cockpit now because he knows exactly how important it is for the World Championship, Herbert added. For long-time followers, it's a notable evolution. The early career Norris could let a slow pit stop fester in his mind or allow frustration to spill over the radio, moments that Drive to Survive producers happily amplified. Budapest, however, was different. Norris absorbed a sluggish start, kept his head clear, and rebuilt his race step by step, resisting the temptation to overdrive his way out of trouble. McLaren sources hint that this new steeliness is no accident. The team has carefully managed the relationship between its two rising stars, avoiding the messy hierarchy of Red Bull's Verstappen-Perez pairing. Zak Brown has kept both drivers focused on the long game, reminding them that a title is won across 24 races, not in a single act of bravado. Still, the seasoned cynic might smirk. History suggests that when two drivers are in genuine title contention, the smiles across the garage tend to last only until the first accidental, late-braking maneuver. For now, Norris and Piastri insist their rivalry remains means respectful, but in Formula One, respectful often just means waiting for the spark. As the rest of the field scrambles to close the gap, the Norris-Piastri duel has quietly become the headline act of 2025. McLaren's Constructors' Championship is all but sealed in papaya wrapping, yet the driver's title remains tantalizingly unsettled. That leaves the team with an exquisitely tricky balancing act, letting its two stars fight freely while avoiding the kind of friendly fire that can turn a dream season into a public relations nightmare. This is the kind of in-house rivalry that shapes legacies. Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton's 3-year civil war at Mercedes blended soap opera with stock car levels of contact. Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna's infamous tenure at McLaren was less team spirit and more Cold War with carbon fibre. Those battles didn't just decide championships, they became defining chapters in Formula One history. The key difference for Norris and Piastri is that they're competing in an era where F1's fanbase and sponsors want their champions relatable, brand-friendly, and preferably not the subject of an FIA investigation every other weekend. The smiles for the cameras may be genuine enough, but behind the scenes, both men are running their own late-night calculations on tyre strategies, pit windows, and exactly how many points they need to tip the balance. Outwardly, the rivalry is cordial. Privately, it's a mental knife fight. A 9-point gap is nothing in Formula One. A single lockup, a mistimed safety car, or even a stray coffee spill in qualifying could flip the script entirely. Norris's recent surge suggests the momentum may be tilting his way, yet Piastri has proven he can soak up pressure with the composure of a grandmaster. If Norris's much-discussed mental shift proves genuine, we might just be witnessing the tightest McLaren intra-team title scrap since Lauda and Prost locked horns in the 1980s. For now, Norris heads into the summer break looking like a driver reborn. At least, that's the verdict from Herbert, and a growing chorus of paddock insiders who have watched his composure harden and his racecraft sharpen with each passing weekend. But the second half of the season will be the real test, when the points gaps narrow, the stakes skyrocket, and the margin for error shrinks to nothing. It is in those high-pressure moments, under the glare of title-deciding Saturdays and split-second strategy calls, that we will see whether this new, measured Norris can truly withstand the relentless assault of a rival as precise and unflappable as Piastri. So, we would like to know your thoughts. Has Lando Norris truly evolved into a champion in waiting, capable of outlasting the relentless rhythm of Oscar Piastri? Or is this just the calm before the storm, a temporary transformation before the return of the old Lando? Lightning fast, hugely likeable, but sometimes his own worst enemy. Could this be the defining chapter of McLaren's modern era, or just another twist in a rivalry destined to boil over? Will Piastri find a way to wrestle back control, or has Norris discovered a gear that no one, not even his teammate, can match? The stage is set, the stakes are rising, and every lap from here could rewrite the story. Let us know your verdict in the comments, and until next time, goodbye for now.